today I have some different media here that I'm going to experiment with. I have some watercolor, tube watercolor, some acrylic ink, and some high flow acrylic paint. So the difference between them is watercolor is water soluble, acrylic will dry and you won't be able to move it. Now, I found that ink will lift a bit more than actual acrylic high flow. But yesterday in the workshop I taught, some of the artists were watercolorists and they like the spontaneity. So I'd like to show you how you can create spontaneity with acrylic. I've put out 3 watercolors. I have a yellow ochre, a violet, and a Payne's gray. So I'm going to start with that and I haven't played with watercolor forever. In fact, some of my tubes are kind of dried up, but just going to do a little bit of putting color down to show you the kind of the spontaneity of the color, the looseness you can get. How it bleeds into the other color is a lovely effect. So this isn't actually watercolor paper, it is mixed media paper. So it's not as absorbent as the watercolor paper, but you get the idea of the spontaneity. And when we use acrylic ink, I don't have the same colors, but I've got some yellow orange. And these inks come with a dropper, an eyedropper, which isn't always the greatest. But you can see like the ink is very fluid. So this is high flow. So you can see it has about the same consistency as the actual ink does. Just using a fan brush, pulling that around. So you can see there's just lots of fluidity to that. So let's go over and test the ink. And you can see again, it also is very fluid. So the colors with the acrylic are much more vivid than the watercolor. And we can have spontaneity, running, puddling. You could squirt it with water to get more movement. So this may be a beginning of a landscape painting, perhaps. So the acrylic probably takes longer to dry than the watercolor did. So just dragging it around a little bit, making some marks into it with my catalyst wedge. Doing some blending, so it gives you some time to play with it. So I really encourage you, if you are a watercolorist that wants to transition into acrylic, but you really like the spontaneity of the watercolors. I know it's a little bit different way of working than you do with watercolor, but there are similarities when you use these fluid paints. So now with watercolor, you'll see what happens when I put water back on it. It still moves around and you'll get some marks and stuff happening in it. It's just not stable. So if you wanted to continue on with acrylics, let's experiment with that and see how it goes. In this one, I have the ink on top. I'm not lifting any of it here, and this, I'm not lifting any of this either. So that's very stable. You can see with the watercolor that it will come up. So I think both of these could be developed more with some mixed media, continuing working on them. They feel landscapish to me, so I will probably continue working on them like that. So stay tuned as I do some more work, and we'll see you next time.